I have no strings to hold me down, make me fret, make me frown. I had strings, but now I'm free. There are no strings on me.
Why, hello there, and welcome to my humble shed. I am the Puppet Master, the maestro behind the story, the one that creates all that you imagine come to life. But, well, as you can see, I'm kind of in the process of moving, packing up, making things go from here to there. So, but enough about my troubles and my dilemmas. You're here for a story, aren't you? A story, let me guess, mystery, a touch of drama. Now, while many people consider a true scary story to be something involving humans, that is not always the case. There are many stories that involve other creatures, other planes of existence, other places where, shall we say, a puppet master's string has already entwined, playing with the delegates there, making them do or not do many different things to entertain a silent crowd that all but watches from the shadow as they live their deepest, darkest fears for nothing more than your own smile of entertainment. Now, before I begin, I would like to draw your attention to the comment section below. If you see something here that you enjoy, I would encourage you to please leave me a comment down there so I know what I'm doing well. And while you're down there, give a like for support and subscribe. Who knows what I might be coming out with later. So, I hope that you sit back and relax as I tell you a tale of mystery and murder. But alas, in this day, in this place called Equestria, there lived an old sheriff by the name of Braeburn. Now, Braeburn, he was athletic built. Though he was getting on in his years, he used to be the sheriff of this place called, we'll call it Appaloosa. Now, a little secret I'd like to tell you about Braeburn. You see, even though that he was a phenomenal sheriff, he had a little bit of an interesting streak that some have come to notice, leading to his early retirement. You see, not all of the ponies that were arrested made it to trial. Some either died in a shootout, or others, well, between the jail cell and the courthouse, just disappeared. Now, on this morning in question, Braeburn was doing his usual routine. He was up a half hour before the sun goddess herself deemed it fit to rise up and to stir the sun from his slumbers. He sat on a nearby hilltop, thinking to himself, remembering the good old days in dusty Appaloosa, throwing out stallions who've had one too many licks of salt out of the saloon, keeping the buffalo at bay. Now, this was before the treaty, and just things that just made him personally smile to himself. Part of him wishes that he didn't have to hang up his spurs and hide the badge away, but it was time to move on with his life. So as he sat there, watching the horizon, he could see the first glimmer of light shining, turning the dark purple of the horizon into dull red, angry and fiery, as it lit up the sky, only to bleed into an orange fire that seemed to fill the horizon until a small speck of green that gently grew and turned almost unobtrusively into the light blue azure that darkened as the sun slowly rose. This was his favorite time, you see. He loved the early morning when there was no one to bother him and he could just stretch his legs, a little bit sore from the night's sleep, and just trot his merry way wherever he wanted to. You see, most ponies didn't know this, but Braeburn, despite where he was sheriff, didn't really like loud noises and such. Well, as he was approaching his own homestead, a nice little cottage towards the end of town, almost on the outskirts, so he could have his own privacy, he noticed another pony peeking through one of his windows. Now, the pony in question, her name is Daisy, and I can see her now snooping about, seeing if she can catch a peek at the inside of the curtains. No, you see, Daisy, she had a little bit of a streak of her own. She was quite the snoop, always liked to gossip. Ah yes, always sticking her malformed beautiful snout, into places where they did not belong, trying to pry into others' secrets when she should just keep it to herself. And sorry for getting a little heated over that. Well, needless to say, Braeburn liked his privacy, and Daisy snooping was not necessarily something that he looked forward to dealing with that morning. So as he approached her, he asked, "Why, hello there! What can I help you with? Is there something wrong? Do you hear the tea kettle going?" Well, she nervously pawed the floor, seeing that she was caught, and, well, biting her lip, she wasn't quite sure exactly how to approach the subject. "I believe I heard screaming," she admitted after a while. Now that's really odd because, as far as I know, you live alone, and, well, I don't know of any other ponies who live in this area, so I was just kind of wondering if there was someone in need of help. Surely that was the most sensible thing to do. If there was somebody in danger, one would expect that another would be noble enough in spirit and in soul to try and help out the poor unfortunate cretin. Well, Braeburn just smiled and said, "Oh, I do have a little bit of a guilty pleasure. I like to listen to the radio at night, and sometimes I forget to turn it off, and, well, you might have heard static or something like that. So I'll tell you what, I know that I put the tea on before I left, so why don't you come in and I'll show you there's nothing to worry about." Feeling nervous, but having been caught snooping by the one pony she really did not want to be caught snooping at, she didn't really feel she had much of a choice. What could she do? Turn tail and run? Gallop into town and awaken everybody because she heard what sounded like screaming? Because of a radio accidentally being turned on? No, no, no. You see, Daisy had no choice. Gulping, she entered the house behind Braeburn. I suppose it shouldn't be much surprise to any pony that the house was perfectly normal. Indeed, in the kitchen there was a refrigerator, a radio. Funny enough, it was on too with static blaring, which Braeburn swiftly went and turned off, looking apologetic. And there was a stove with the tea kettle. Sure enough, it was boiling over. Time to be taken off for tea. Well, Daisy felt a little foolish, and after pouring a cup for himself and a cup for his guest, Braeburn excused himself to go use the bathroom. It was then, in the quiet, Daisy thought she heard it again. A muffled kind of... No, it couldn't be screaming. It was just the radio, which was now off. And it couldn't be the tea kettle, because that's off too. The fact that she has tea in front of her, and that there's 2 cups served, and the tea kettle was clearly on the rough-hewn table. Something was amiss. Not wanting to be caught snooping again, but at the same time, not willing to subject another to any kind of nefarious events, she did the one thing she shouldn't have done. And that was to get up from her chair and follow the noise. She searched. There was a bathroom. Gotta be quiet. And there was the bedroom. And as she crept, she found another door? No. That shouldn't be there. You see, the houses were all identical on the inside. And in every single house she had been in, that door never existed. So she stopped, listened. Sounded like there was running water. Okay, she must be quick about this. She turned the corner and went through the door. Opening the door revealed a terrible scene. In a padded room specially made so no one could hear the muffled screaming of the poor mare inside, there was a mare chained up by her forelegs with her hind legs dangling above the ground. It looked like she had all kinds of cuts and bruises all over her body, and there was a table in the side of the room that held all manner of instruments of torture and death. Daisy, without thinking, ran to her aid, yanking down the gag that she had almost all the way bitten through as she started to blubber, as she started to cry about how she knew that there was something wrong with the stallion when she first met him, that there was just something that she now knew was off. Well, well, well. Braeburn walked in, smiling to himself. You see, there was a reason why most criminals either died in a shootout or disappeared. You see, Braeburn had the most ingenious idea. He knew from a young age he liked making things hurt. He enjoyed the suffering of others. He enjoyed But how could he get away with it? Ah, if he did it on behalf of the people, if he became sheriff, who would there be to question him? After all, if a criminal disappeared between the jail cell and the courthouse, who would complain? Their mother? Everybody knows. Criminals don't have... So he walked in. You've discovered my little secret. He smiled. I must admit, I had no plans for you, Daisy. But this surely changes things. I'll tell you what. I will make sure I have special time for you. I have something very, very nice I'd like to do to Snoopy ponies. So allow me to finish up with her, and then I'll attend to you. He smiled as he shut the door behind them. A couple days later, Braeburn was going by the flower shop to pick up a nice bouquet for some mare he had met, and he heard something interesting. Violet and Lily were both talking. Neither of them had seen their friend Daisy for a couple days, and they asked Braeburn if he had heard anything, and so happened she stopped by a couple days ago, just asking him if he wouldn't mind watching over her flowers in her flower bed. You see, she was going on a very long trip to see an ailing mother or something like that, and he very much doubted that she'd return anytime soon. And so he trotted off, smiling to himself. I'm sure you can guess why. And that is our tale for the day. Thank you so very much for joining me. And please again, in the comment section below, tell me what you enjoyed in today's story. Did you like it? Did it scare you? And please, I would love to hear your comments on other stories you'd like to hear. Doesn't have to be scary, but the scarier, the better. Until then,